So we open up the external or supplier invoice entry screen by clicking on this button here, enter external invoice. We select a supplier, we enter an invoice number, I'll say S1S001, select the invoice date, we put in our job reference, the order number that we may have given the supplier, we enter the registration number of the vehicle, then we have to enter the location. This will probably be we'll probably have just one location, but here I'll say pick a location, which will be where you can either select a workshop where all the work is done, or you could set up just one location for your own depot and assign the work there. We put in the customer, that will usually be ourselves. We will set up ourselves as a customer, and the invoice is coming from the supplier to us, so we are actually the customer. Description, so I'll put in here inspection and replace mirror. Here you can choose the job type, whether it was a scheduled job or non-scheduled. I'll say this was a non-scheduled for now. So there's where we enter the main invoice information, the supplier, the supplier's invoice number, the date, job reference, and some description and so forth. Next is we have to enter tasks, which is what happens is on the invoice there might be various items of work, such as maybe an inspection and perhaps some repairing of damage. So we could split that invoice into two distinct tasks, and then we can assign each task to a repair category. That allows us to do better reporting later on. If we divide the invoice into little groups of types of work, such as routine inspections or non-routine inspections or damage or tires or brakes and so forth, by putting the work into different tasks and putting a repair code to that task, it allows us to use that as a basis for reporting later. So here I'll say, right, inspection, and the repair category will be inspection. The nominal code will be inspection, and here we can choose that we're going to add one of our services that we've set up for the vehicle. So if I press F12, you can see that for that particular vehicle, on the service tab on the fleet file, I've set up an inspection. So I'll say that we're going to do that inspection. And here's some notes you could put in about that particular task. Now I'm going to add another task, which is replace mirror, and then this one, the repair code is going to be damage, and the same for the nominal. I'll select damage. This is not a planned service, so we don't need to fill in the inspection service lookup for that one. We're just going to put it in as damage, and I'll just put in some notes here, damage repairs, right? So that's our two different tasks set up, the inspection and replacing the mirror. Now we go to enter the detail items. Okay, so first of all, let's assume that we're doing the inspection task first. Supposing there was the inspection and it was 4 hours, let's say 25 an hour, standard VAT code. Then we've got, this one is to do with a mirror, and this one will be a part, so we're going to actually replacement mirror. Quantity is 1, we'll put down 50, standard VAT code, and then we've got, for the mirror, we've got labour replace mirror, and just for example I'll say it's 1 hour at 25 standard VAT code. Right, so now we've entered the 3 items that were on the supplier's invoice. So the supplier's invoice came in and it had an inspection on there, which was 4 hours of labour. It was replacing a mirror, one off at £50, and there was the labour for replacing the mirror. So we've entered the 3 items that were on the supplier's invoice. We've said which supplier this invoice came from, what the job reference number was, what the vehicle was, and so on and so on. So we've basically entered everything we need now for that invoice. So we can click the finish button. And we get a confirmation dialog. It says job saved successfully, job number is 4482. So we'll have a look at that job in a minute. Now if I go to the workshop job sheets, if I go right down to the bottom, we should see there's our 4482 which we just created. And here's the 2 tasks, the inspection and replacing the mirror. And the items from the invoice go on this tab, the external parts and labour. And you can see there's the inspection, 4 hours. There's the replacing of the mirror, one off at 50. And labour for replacing the mirror, one off at 25. And this order reference number relates to the purchase order. So for example, if I look at the external parts and labour on the invoices tab here, if I go to the external parts and labour form, we'll look at this number 723. You see that at the bottom 723, it's created what it's done is it's created a purchase order based on that supplier invoice with all the dates and details that we entered, and here's our items. So with that form at the beginning, where we first of all enter the supplier invoice number and the supplier and the date, and then we enter the tasks, and then we enter the items and allocate those items to the different tasks. Once we do that and click save, it actually creates a job card and external parts and labour purchase order. So then all those costs are then recorded and can be reported on against for that particular vehicle. So that's how we enter supplier invoices, and really each invoice should only take a few minutes to enter, really, once you get the hang of it.